So this bow's come into my shop for a rehair, and I just wanted to point out something with regards to the tip wedge, which I do notice from time to time, and it's really quite a dangerous practice that can cause significant structural damage to your bow if your rehair is undertaken by someone that's perhaps doesn't really know what they're doing. There's a couple of things with this rehair. One is that the hair here is, even though the hair is loose at the moment, you can see how uneven and bunched it is, and even when I put a bit of tension on it, there's still quite a few uneven hairs coming out of the head. If we look down to the frog end of the bow where the ferrule is here, the hair has receded in from the edges of the ferrule quite significantly. This rehair was undertaken not very long ago, and basically what that means is that the ferrule wedge has failed and the hair is just pulled in to be an even band from the frog through to the head. That's not the main issue with this bow, however. You can see here, looking at the plug or tip wedge, the hair is held in place in the head of the bow using a wooden plug or wedge. And I just wanted to point out a few structural issues with this, which a lot of people, luthiers and people that undertake rehairs that perhaps aren't bow specialists, don't quite realise the dangers and risks. You can see here this piece of timber is supposedly fitted into the wedge space, into the mortise in the head to hold the hair in. When this has been cut to fit, it's been cut with two extreme angles on each side, which leave these gaps either side. That could be done with the intention of making it easier to remove the wedge. You can get a knife or a tool in the corner here and flick it out. However, that also presents a danger. If you go in there and just try and lever it out sideways, you may well split the side of the tip or the head of the bow out either side. So it's not great to encourage that sort of a practice. The other issue, and the main issue with this practice, is that it's really done in order to speed up the process of cutting these wedges, so as you don't have to cut an exact and accurate plug or wedge that fits the space perfectly. It's much easier and faster to cut the overall plug that's going to fit, to cut it to the width of the hair band at the top here at its widest point, and then just cut two fairly fast, overly sharp angles in order so that the plug fits quickly. What this does, though, when you put plain tension on the hair, there is quite a bit of tension and pressure that goes through that hair, that goes through that head. You think about how firm it can be to wind up your bow at times, especially this is a cello bow, so there's actually a lot of pressure that goes through the hair on the head of the bow. The timber at the back of the head here is end grain. So you think about when you're splitting timber, this timber splits best down when you're hitting it on the end grain. So what you're doing when you create this wedge is that you are directing all the pressure that's holding the hair in and through the playing and pressure on your hair. All of that pressure is trying to pull the hair out, and that's directing the pressure through this wedge to the back edge of this wedge box. Now, when you have these wings cut out like this, that pressure is all directed onto a smaller area of end grain at the back of the head. And there are times where you'll see bows that have a crack, a vertical crack, or sometimes two down the back of the head plate here. And that's in part caused by wedges like this that have been poorly fitted. The other thing it does is that it leaves this gap in here. So any pressure on this wedge, and any time that wedge wants to contract or get squashed by the pressure of the hair, any pressure, top to bottom, that the hair is put under, it wants to squash the wedge from the top here down, and that's forcing a wider area of timber at the top into a smaller area as it goes down, which puts sidewards pressure on the side walls of the head and the tip plate. And you can see on this tip that the tip has actually cracked out right here. There's a split in the side of the head of the faceplate, and there's also a split right here where it comes through. This has been glued back on. You can also see at the top of this wedge here, I'll show you with my scalpel here, how the angle comes up and then it goes flat. And I think that's been done because they've put the wedge in, it's split the side of this piece of faceplate out, and then in order to be able to glue it back on in the right spot, they've just sort of taken the edge off the wedge a bit so that it's not putting as much sidewards pressure on, which just leaves a gap. But then you've still got this corner here, so any pressure from the hair is pushing down, is trying to put sidewards pressure on the sides of the bow. And the worst, I suppose, the worst case scenario on that is that it actually splits the side of the whole head of the bow. The whole head just breaks, and the side and the side just cracks. So that's you know, a real gripe of mine when I see work like this done on bows of any quality. I think it's just really poor. It's done largely in order to speed up the process of the rehair and to be able to provide a cheaper job. There are plenty of luthiers that, you know, are just completely unaware of the dangers of that sort of a practice. And it's I suppose if you have a nice bow that you want well taken care of, it's important to find a luthier or bow maker who takes care of these sorts of things and is aware of them and really knows their craft.